Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hybrid Major Glitches Tournament 2023. Guy versus Chexhuman, Game 1. This is round 3 of the winner's bracket. We should be getting started here in a second. Don't mind Chex's stream for now. I assume that'll be getting fixed. But in the meantime, I guess our tracker has a much easier job. So, Hybrid Major Glitches, in case anyone is unfamiliar, is a rule set that allows most major glitches, barring some few really broken exceptions. We have indoor clips, outdoor clips, things that are allowed but not necessarily in logic, like mirror wraps. Overworld YBAs are another good one. We'll try and explain them as we see them. Nice flippers from Chex right off the bat. But if anyone has any questions, I guess, about what specifically is going on that isn't clear, feel free to ask in chat. Glove on Lake Hylia Island from Sky. So with the Flippers Check Scott, that's actually really convenient. Normally you would need the mirror and dark road access to get to that item, but there are several ways to get there. Sky is about to show one of them, where you can do a little funny auto walk thing right to the island. Chex will probably do that as well, but be able to combo that with the rest of the Lake Hylia area. He can go straight to Zora, for example. The first claw is really good, always good to have. That's required in most seeds, usually in one way or the other. There are a few locations that you cannot get around that requirement, such as Checkerboard Cave and Cold Stare and Ice Palace is a big one. But otherwise, it's not really used for much else, and the second glove can be required logically, but functionally doesn't do anything you can't get around. So it looks like we have Chex. Sky's doing a little hop into Hobo to get there without swimming, which is nice. Chex looks to be farming most likely for prize packs in the tree pool. Very early bow. That is very good too. Most people avoid Eastern like the plague, but if you have a bow and it's a crystal, there's 3 checks there plus 3 in Hasa. It's actually a really strong early play. Because it's pretty isolated, unless you have like the mirror and can do different pods. Usually not a great reason to skip it. If you can do it and get it out of the way, by all means. Yo, we're full screen. Finally. Now we're gaming. All right, so Sky's saving quitting out of Saha, interestingly enough. I thought maybe he'd go do Eastern. Perhaps it's a map check that I missed, and it was a pendant. That's kind of the only reason I can think to specifically skip it right in that spot, unless, you don't want to do the dark rooms without a weapon, perhaps. Eastern with no lamp in the bow, just above for a weapon, can be a little obnoxious. Jack's turning in the Old Man to get his boomerang. Old Man is a really good check in this mode. Not so much for the item itself, but the save point is used constantly. It's the best way to get to the mountain, and the mountain is the best way to get to a lot of other places. Once you have the pearl, or just in general, you can pretty much get to all of Dark in one way or the other from the mountain. All right, 2 items in front of Hera. So Hera is locked behind Meyer. It looks like you can clip into Hera from Meyer since there's no big key in the front. We'll see if they even bother doing that, though. If you have the hook shot, you can obviously do Hera, so you can avoid Meyer altogether, potentially. But one, there's no more items left there, so probably not going to be super relevant to seed either way. Looks like Chex is doing Graveyard Ledge. He didn't get the glove yet, which is unfortunate for him because he could have combined this with the back escape from fixing the camera. So he'll have to just do that later. Normally, if you drop into that hole, you get hula hand. But if you transition up after the clip and then back down, it'll fix your camera, and so you can go jump straight into the back of escape without any issue. Which we'll actually see Chex do here, setting up hula hand. He's just going to go fall in this hole. So this will get him to Link's house, plus get him a bunch of money, so he doesn't have to isolate Zora later on. Just very heads-up routing on his side. Meanwhile, Sky is farming bombs, it looks like. Interesting spot to farm bombs. Most people, if you don't want to gamble whether or not you'll get bombs in the blind set, a spot to get bombs somewhat efficiently, I guess, is the graveyard ledge that Chex just did. 4 bombs in there minus the one you use, plus you can just go in and out as much as you want. Nice blue cane. So Kakariko is one of the most dense locations still. Go figure. Some people will put it off a while until they have like a bottle, or maybe they'll find the flute. Which Sky does have a bottle, which is nice. It'll be interesting to see if he saves his money or if he buys a potion. You can do a lot of strange things with potions in this mode. Depending on which color it is and where you're at. The red and green potion can be used to sequence break some checks like Smiths. Can use it to dupe items, to do map wraps, that kind of thing. Whereas the blue potion you can use to activate a flute menu even if you don't have one. Which is somewhat useful in the light world, but especially very useful in the world. Sky skipping Chicken Hut for now, as he's out of bombs. Unfortunately, didn't find any in the wet or blind set, which I have to say I'd say is pretty rare. It's unusual for me to leave Kakariko in this mode without like a full stack of bombs most of the time, I would say. So we'll most likely see both of them after their CAC trip rotate into the desert area. There's a nice little teleport you can do by the race game to hop right over the cliff right into desert, so you don't have to go the whole way around. Plus, it'll put you into the back entrance. So in the event, you want to check the ledge, or you want to actually beat the dungeon if you have a loadout to do so. They don't have a fire source yet, so that option is not available to them, but we'll see where they go from there. All right. Race him as bombs, which we don't need, obviously. So nice little teleport there, which basically puts you on the. He did I believe, a downward teleport from a higher bump, but there's also an upward you can do. But basically, it just lets you hop from a specific spot, which then lands you on that upward cliff, and then just obviously transition down, hop off the ledge, head into desert. So far, it looks like just a lot of filler for the most part. The flippers are very, very nice. They are still required for Swamp Palace. If it ends up being a crystal, it's the only way you can beat it. At least legally. But the bow is skippable sometimes, depending on what the crystals are. You still need it for Eastern, that's really about it. There are ways around it everywhere else, although they're not super convenient. So, unless there's something here in the big chest, it's looking like all of the answers will be in South Shore. Or Eastern. There's a sword. Fantastic. First sword is... swords are always nice, obviously. One for dashing. If you ever want to know how miserable it is to do an entire seed without a sword with boots, play swordless. It is extraordinarily inconvenient to get around safely, I should say. But other than that, the first sword lets them do spin speed clips, which make a lot of random clips faster, like this one. He's able to... Sky on the left was able to do a little hop there to get up the cliff, using armed spin speed to just walk right through the slope rather than having to manually clip with boots. This one you can't do it on because you need to transition too high, so we had to do that one manually, but that's okay. I'm going to get a checkerboard, one of the only locations in the game that requires the gloves, and it's absolutely nothing. Sky's a couple options here after Agana. Since he has the glove, he could go do Back of Escape a while. He could go up the mountain. Or he could go do South Shore. Since he has the sword, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go up the mountain and do Hera. Hera's a little obnoxious to do without a weapon. You check that really quick. And Chex will probably just continue his South Shore route. Looks like we're getting either Back of Escape or he's going to do the DMA to Old Man. Looks like it's Old Man. Or he might do... some people will do Lumberjack check into Lumberjack DMA instead, so you can see what that item is. But nope, he's just going straight to the Old Man. Good old new DMA. Oh, nice recovery. So Sky actually botched that a little bit. He did the wrong kind of hop there, which doesn't land you in the right spot to jump down to where the cave entrance is. But if you remember what that screen looks like when the camera isn't broken, there's a little slope there that you can clip through anyway. You just kind of have to maneuver a little bit. So luckily he is familiar with that and was able to recover. Otherwise, if you don't know how to get out of there, it's basically a force save and quit. Yeah, Bo was on Hobo, which Chex should be running into here soon. I imagine after this dam, he'll probably go straight to Mini Moldorm and then straight to the lake. He might do... since he has flippers, he'll probably do Ice Rod and store a Water Walk. So I wonder if we'll get to see him do Swim Clip if he hangs onto that Water Walk, or if he just activates it immediately. He might just do a regular clip to the gloves. Since he has the flippers, he can just hop right back into the water. So on Sky's side, we did get to see him fix that screen with the Graveyard Ledge, so he's definitely going into Back of Escape here. He still doesn't have enough money for Zora, though, which could matter if he doesn't find any by the time he gets there, but he doesn't need that much more. Second sword. Very nice. Not that they need it for Aga, but they also had the cape, which kind of makes you start wondering if Aga's Tower could potentially be required here at some point. I think they checked the Lumberjack Cave, which didn't have anything, but Pyramid always could. But either way, that's not in logic without the lamp, and that's certainly not something I would even bother thinking about until it's like the last location left. Looks like Sky is going to do King's Tomb. There's a couple ways to do King's Tomb. Oh, that's unfortunate. That was one of them, potentially. You do the transition, and then you go to a certain spot and hop off, and it launches you into the rock. It clips you into the rock, and then when you go to pick up the rock, the game, for whatever reason, doesn't know you don't have the glove. So it looks like you got it there. So you can just pick it up. If you don't have you can just slash the bush. That works too. And if you have the hook shot, there's another setup you can do called Tumor. Kind of similar to, all the other hook clips. Alright. Nice shovel. We get to see the fairy bottle as well. Chex almost forgot just a bee, which is entirely useless. So Sky really putting off South Shore here, which makes sense. He's probably just waiting until he has enough money. If I had to guess. Nothing on Zora Ledge. And nothing in Harrow. Sky will probably go East Death Mountain. I don't think we saw this from Chex. We might have. Feels so long ago already. And there's the 300 he needs for Zora. Chex is grabbing his glove. He'll probably take that directly to Back of Escape, if I had to guess. Unless he wants to go back up the mountain or do Eastern Palace here, but most likely it'll be Escape. Let's see. Oh, it's Hobo. He hasn't done Hobo yet. Okay. Wait. Oh my god, he hasn't done Hobo. I was thinking he must have done Hobo. He has his bow, and I didn't even realize there was another bow. Yikes. Sky getting the mirror, actually. That's interesting. So one of the big things you're looking for in the Light World is the Moon Pearl, which opens up most of the Dark World. Unfortunately, the mirror also opens up a bunch of the Dark World. So they, with just the mirror, they logically have access to, from where they're at, I guess without the hammer, maybe it's not a ton. I believe they have access to Super Bunny Cave, maybe Turtle Rock. There's a mirror clip to get the East Dark Death Mountain, so I think Turtle Rock's in logic from the middle entrance. Skull Woods is in logic. Chess game, stuff like that. A lot of really inconvenient locations that Moon Pearl could be at. Nice bombos. Neither one has gone into Pod yet either. Pod is, weirdly enough, a Sphere 1 location to at least get to. Whether or not the checks inside of it are in logic depends on key layout and if you have a bow or the lamp. And nice red can, so that's even more of a Turtle Rock that's in logic. So basically what you do for Turtle Rock is you get to the bridge area, and there's like a mirror clip you can do where you mirror to the Light World, move down a bit, take your portal back, and then just ledge hop right down to the bridge entrance, to the big chest entrance. So since he has the red cane, he has access to the big chest and potentially Crystal Roller Room. Don't know off the top of my head how many keys Crystal Roller Room requires. but I imagine it's just the big key. Sky doing Azora. Oh, interesting. Directly into Waterfall Fairy. Don't see that one often. I forgot that existed. Did he already check Sora? Or perhaps his camera was broken and he couldn't? I don't know the clip very well. Yeah, thanks, Sleepy. I assumed it was something like that. I imagine if you try and exit, you're stuck on the wall, yeah. Right. There's Chex's red cane. He's going back up the mountain, so maybe this is the Dark World play? Sure looks like it. Nope, this is Pod. Okay. That, in retrospect, makes a lot more sense. So he does have the lamp and the bow, so all of Pod minus the bosses and logic. If he wants to, he could still do the boss. Into a Pod basement clip, that's a little obnoxious, but saves you a return trip. I know he knows how to do it at the very least, but whether he will do it in a race is another story. Sky getting his second bow. So the reason Chex was able to open that door is because he's in Cave State. Cave State will have basically negative keys is the easiest way to explain it. And when you're opening a door, the game just checks to see if you have not 0 keys, and then it lets you open the door, and it decreases your key count by 1. So basically, the first door he opens puts his key from 255 to 254 or so. Opening that first door in Pod is really, really convenient. It makes the key routing in here, depending on layout, a lot easier. Plus, if you don't do that, you could get locked because the first chest does not have to be a key. And then the right side 2 chests, I guess one of them does have to be a key, so you're fine. But still, you don't want to have to do right side if you don't need to. We probably won't see him completing Pod because it's a pendant. Unless it's a green pendant, but honestly, I don't know how he would know that. Getting his lamp. So, as I mentioned, that lamp does put Aghanim's Tower in logic to get to the pyramid item. Although you can get to that pyramid item with a mirror displacement as well. I'm not 100% sure if that's in logic, but if they do want to go to the pyramid, they literally have nowhere else to go. There are much better ways to get there than to actually kill Aga. Nice peg skip. First had to go make sure it was really on the color he wanted, though. So now we're finally getting a Zora DMA. The fact that he's coming here anyway, I have to wonder why he did the Waterfall DMA and not just the regular Zora DMA, where you can leave and do both while you're there. I wonder if it's just maybe that's how he normally does it, just muscle memory. Or if he was trying to skip Zora, but now has to come back. So far, not a whole lot in Pod. Sky going to the Dark World, so I think he might be doing the mirror checks here. We'll see what he goes for. This is Pyramid Fairy. Okay. So he wrapped the map in the dark world there, and then walked to a specific spot and put the mirror portal down. So basically, the portal goes where the game thinks you are, and not the screen it looked like he was on. And in that particular case, he was in Hyrule, the main castle lobby or outdoor lobby. So what he can do is get to that area outside the castle through whatever means other than a save and quit, which will remove his. So once he comes out the other side, he can just transition right there and end up straight into Pyramid Fairy. A nice little combo with the actual castle checks. I don't remember if they found the map, but even then, this is a pretty dense spot. Usually it's this plus Uncle plus the fairy. He's probably getting a good 7 actual item checks here. Meanwhile, Chex is going into Pendant Eastern. Pretty convenient to combo this after Pod. Unfortunately, they're both pendants, which is kind of crappy, but Chex does have all 3 medallions now at least, so one of those might be required for Meyer. So it doesn't, based on the current pendants, the items, they still definitely need the Fire Rod. They'll need it either for Rock or Skull. Both of them can't be pendants at this point. Might need the Ice Rod, and if Swamp is a crystal, they'll need the Hook Shot. If Ice Palace is a crystal, they'll need the Hammer. So we're still looking for a few items, but considering they've done pretty much no Dark World whatsoever, they're pretty well on their way at this point. If they do find the hammer, that opens up a little bit of GT. Like, you can already do the first few in the front, but that lets you, I think, there's some weird key logic there, but you can at least sequence break GT with the hammer. And let's see what's in Pyramid Fairy. A whole lot of nothing. Vanilla Big Key in Eastern, so just a heart on the pyramid. Kind of running out of Light World spots for this pearl, unless it's here on Uncle. Oh, there's Ice Rod. That's nice. Even in this mode, Ice Rod and Ice you can spend 40 minutes looking for. Except it can be literally anywhere. Except in Trinex. Alright, I'm guessing Chex is probably also going to be doing the pyramid play here. Sky is going to Hera? Okay, so Sky we might see some of the first Dark World mirror checks here. See what he does, whether he... Looks like he's going to do a mirror wrap, so... Not a mirror wrap. He's just going to do the OG mirror clip to get the Death Mountain. So basically, the way this one works is you do a sequence of mirror transitions, which gets you onto the ledge. You can then hop out into the void where you do another sequence of mirror transitions to clip into a rock. I forget which rock. I don't do it this way, but to hop into the other side, more or less. There's also a map wrap. Map wraps technically aren't in logic, but in this case, you're going to a place that is in logic. You can kind of just wrap directly across and go into the super decay from there, which is generally much faster if you're familiar with it. Here we go. So he's going to mirror into this right pump here and then do a long diagonal hop, I believe, all the way onto the platform. Really, the only reason this is so slow is because mirror transitions take so long, but got it done without much issue. So if Sky does get to skip Pod and Eastern here, since obviously, barring a medallion, there's not much in there, that would be an extremely massive advantage he would have over Chex as long as he can stay out of them. Those two combined easily 5-6 minutes. It's very difficult to make up for. And there's Powder, which is not in logic right now either, because you need the Moon Pearl or the Hammer. Alright, looks like we're going to Turtle Rock. Normally, if you're actually Link, you can just clip over that little ledge there on the left, but when you're not Link, you have to do it with a mirror. So this is in logic because of Dungeon Revive. So if you're a bunny and you go into a dungeon and die, it'll respawn you as Link. Meanwhile, Chex is catching up on the stuff that Sky already did. So we just had a conversation about the lava chest logic the other day, but I can't remember. But basically, if you open the lava chest and the dungeon is medallion locked, you can lock yourself out of completing it without coming through the front. So if Sky knows that, I think he'll probably skip lava chest and do that last, or get bodied by skeletons and die, maybe. Oh, luckily he does have that powder, so he's good. Looks like he is going for the lava chest, so if this works out, this is a pretty fast route because you can just grab this chest and go right back to the front without having to, and it's a key, so that's good. Without having to go all the way around. Meanwhile, Chex looks like he's doing checkerboard, which he has not done yet. And there's the Moon Pearl. Sick. So with that Moon Pearl, they have access to pretty much everything now, barring a couple things. They can even go to Ice Palace if they want, even though it's not in logic. Ice Palace does require the mitts still. So most of the time, if you're doing Ice Palace, it's a sequence break. Don't. Oh no! I'm mirrored there. Although I guess there's not really anywhere to go from that bridge. This makes more sense. So he's doing a clip over here to get to this swamp overworld. Normally, you need the hammer to get in there. Obviously, thanks to modern technology, we don't. And then you can do a bomb clip to get out, blow yourself through the wall, get a little hop and free. So from here, you can do the whole Dark World loop, Hype Cave, Thieves Town, Skullwoods, etc. It will be interesting to see Medallion Meyer requires. I don't think we've seen a Dark World. No, we've seen all of the pendants, yeah. So that if Meyer is Ether, wow, Chex does that in a really interesting way. I mean, I guess it's faster, but you can actually prime that with a bomb explosion. What Chex is doing is Blockbuster. So he did shenanigans with the block. He's going to go over here in Checkerboard Cave and presumably clip to Pyramid Fairy is the easier one. Nope, he's going to Hammer Eggs. Yeah. So you do weird things with the block, and you have the block push you all the way to the next screen, which in this case, I think that's EG2, is Hammer Pegs. Weird choice. I mean, I guess it makes sense to go there because that's the one you can't really get to reliably, but like, you don't have the hammer, you don't have the pearl. And I guess that he did Pyramid Fairy, so it... Ooh, nice hook shot. And Meyer is Quake, so Ether not required, Pod not required, Easter not required. Check's gonna have a hard time here catching up, I think. Fox, you don't like the bomb setup. I mean, how's it any different than the select buffer setup, other than the fact that you have to select buffer? Oh. Are we talking about different things here, maybe? I'm talking about Blockbuster still. Never mind. Just do it, bro. Just hit the frame every time. Got it. So Chex, unfortunately, getting farther away from his Moon Pearl, doing Mirror Bunny, Bunny DMD, not Mirror Bunny. He just clipped it. DMD with a bunny. So he's probably going into Skullwoods. Since he has the mirror, he can fix his world afterwards and go from there directly into Village as well. So as we mentioned, Hera was Meyer locked, but there aren't any items in Hera. However, Swamp could also be Meyer locked. The game might want you to go from Meyer to Hera to grab the small key to open Swamp. But they have the hook shot, so they probably don't need to do that anyway. Pearl is in Chain Chomp's chest in Turtle Rock. X's Bunny Sprite is a red moblin. Or, I guess, the color changes depending on his male. Ooh. Luckily, Sky is silvers, because 3 heart Vitreous sucks. Although he is... Actually, with red mail, he can take a hit. He can take 1 hit from the eyeballs. Alright. Chex remembering Demir to fix his world. So if Aghanim's not dead and you die in a Dark World dungeon, Even though you're linked, the game puts you back into Light World. So you leave the dungeon, it looks like you're in Dark World, but you're actually in Light World, and if you transition screen, it'll put you where you're supposed to be. So if he had exited Skull Woods, he would have been in Village, or Kakariko Village, rather than Village of Outcasts, which would have been horribly inconvenient. So in terms of completing the seed, it looks like all we really need is Fire Rod, Hammer, both of which conveniently lock massive portions of GT, so don't need to do that either. It's always a gamble when you go into GT in this mode, even though it's so dense. You know, if it's like an early big key and you full clear the basement, it feels real bad. Right. Checks once again into the Dark World. I assume this will be super running into Turtle Rock, so he'll be getting his Moon Pearl, but unfortunately, by the time he does, he will be like entire Mire dungeon behind. But that could all even up very quickly if Sky decides to do the Pot Eastern combo, if he's like looking for the Hammer or Fire Rod. Jex has Super Bunny Cave and Turtle Rock left. I don't think there's anything else that he hasn't done. I don't remember. I don't think he's checked Pyramid Fairy, or not Pyramid Fairy. Pyramid Ledge. That's about it. Or maybe he did check that. I might have missed him checking that when he did Pyramid Fairy, though. Doing this room with the lamp sucks. Huh. I did not realize those pipes give you a long state, I guess, but... Oh, he got beamed. It's over. Tried to save time, not death warping. Look where we're at. So Scott, I assume, is going into Hera and then into Swamp. All of Swamp is in logic for him at this point, regardless of key layout, because he can access it through the front or back, so to speak. So no matter what happens with the keys in Swamp, he's good to go. He's not breaking anything. Jack's about to get his Pearl and is probably going to feel real bad about it. But sometimes your opponent does Turtle Rock instead of Pot Eastern, and that's just how it is. So Sky's in the dungeon. He's in Mire state right now, though. Just opened the door. Still needs to drain it, which he has the mirror for. But if he defeated the dungeon without going out and back in, it would have thought he was beating Meyer and not dropped the Swamp Crystal, so he would have had to have come all the way back to Argus in the correct state to collect the crystal. Obviously, much simpler to just leave and come back in and then do it once instead of twice. So checks. Okay, this makes sense. Doing another mirror ledge clip to stay in the dark world. So he's going to go. I assume check hookshot cave. This is in logic. The chest is also in logic without the hookshot. Obviously, he doesn't have that yet, but I assume he'll hover to the chest anyway. So he might find something potentially that could save him some time. Fire rod or hammer would both be very nice in here. If Sky does like the full loop between each dungeon, he could make up some time, not have a full clear something. Exactly like that. Nice hover. Only took 2 first tries. 3 first tries. First try every time. Nope, he's leaving. That's fine too. It's going to feel real bad if that's the hammer, I have to say. But, or maybe he just wanted to check with the medallions. Nope, he's leaving. Looks like he's doing the wrap to Laser Bridge. This is a bootsless wrap. Very nice. Or, geez, not bootsless. Mirrorless wrap, sorry. But from that spot is probably a lot faster than the mirror wrap. So he'll be able to kill Trinex here. Presumably, unless... I mean, I guess the big key has to be Firelock, so he's going to have to go all the way back to the front, which sucks. But kind of begs the question why he didn't go into the front first. Did he maybe get the big key and I missed it? No. I feel like he could have gone into the front, gotten the big key, and then come into this bridge. That might have been faster. Fire Rod was hookshot locked in hookshot cave. So if by some miracle Chex finds, say, the hammer on Trinex or something, he's going to get to go mode all of these dungeons. Sky is full clearing, which will make up for Pot and Eastern very easily. So even though he's 2 dungeons behind, basically, this could very, very quickly even up. Especially if Sky decides to like sequence break GT or with the lamp or something like that. Sky does have the hook shot, yes. What a trick. Why didn't you just go in through the front? I mean, even if you like the back door that much, it's sometimes not appropriate in a race setting, you know? I'm going to time this later, and I'm going to find out that what Chex did is actually faster by like 40 seconds. I guarantee it. It's going to blow my mind. Power coming in handy. So said the powder was useless earlier, and look, you know. You can still mirror and scudge. He just has to hit the hammer pace, which is still slower. So he could have avoided all of that, I think. I guess he gets to skip the opening animation this way, which is not quick, so. Sky did correct his world when he came out the... Oh no, he came in for the Dark World to begin with, ignore me. So he's good. So he'll probably hit up Thieves Town into possibly Skullwoods. So Hammer not in Turtle Rock, which is unfortunate for Chex, because that means he's probably about to just follow in Sky's footsteps and do everything he just did, which will not lead him to the hammer, and he'll be the dungeon behind. Getting an out of logic Smiths, I think. Oh, he has mitts. Never mind. Checks back in Swamp Overworld Night. Now that's useless. Did a nice little super hop from Death Mountain to wrap the map all the way over to the swamp area, and then he went into swamp to fix his camera. So he's going to do the whole Hype Cave route, find his hook shot, presumably go into swamp after Meyer. I can't remember. I don't know if Sky checked Bombo's tablet while he was down there. There's too much going on. So unfortunately, at this point, since the mitts were available, there's a not insubstantial chance that hookshot is on this purple chest. Mostly because other than like terrible dungeons, they're kind of running out of spots that this hammer could be. Okay, it looks like we're getting Bombos now. And it's 10 arrows. It's too bad it's not 10 hammers. Am I right? Yo, I gotta learn that Meyer hop. That was good. I normally do the teleport. Right, Sky doing desert. Chex finished this earlier, but it's back of desert. It takes like a minute, especially with Sos. The one thing Chex is going for him is Sky might not be willing to go back up to the Dark Mountain. He already did Super Bunny Cave, and he might want to wait. He did Super Bunny Cave, and he did Turtle Rock, minus the Fire Rod lock next. So he might be waiting for that Fire Rod before he goes back up again. So it may be isolated for him for a while. That might be like one of the last things he does before, you know, maybe do like Hookshot Cave into Catfish. But he's basically got a good 5 to 6 minutes of new checks to bust out here while Chex does Mire Swamp. Alright, that's where Sky heads to. It's Death Mountain. Chex really needs this to be like pod, and it is not. Okay. So this is probably Hookshot Cave. It's so crazy that he hasn't done Thieves Town yet while he was over there. That's probably just where it's at this point. There's not a whole lot left. There's like 3 chests in GT. I have gotten pretty burned by a hammer in Hope Room in GT before. 100%. It just never seems like a good idea to go there for 2 items versus other stuff, and then before you know it, you're an hour and a half into the seed looking for the hammer. Nice rod dash. And there's his fire rod. Luckily, hammer was not that last chest Chex skipped. So it's not marked, but I do believe Chex has killed Trinex in Turtle Rock. He died. Alright. Even dungeon count currently. Just a matter of Trinex versus Swamp, or Mire to Swamp full clear, which I think Trinex wins, so. Tempered. I feel like there was a sword in Eastern, I want to say, or Eastern or Pod, I think. Not 100% sure. Unless it was on like Laser Bridge. Oh, here's Catfish. Wow, he didn't do Trinex on Laser Bridge? Oh, I guess he could swim back up. Maybe that's what he's going to do. Or it might just be faster to save and quit. Who knows? Nice heart. Chex is using... he did post it somewhere. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Thank you, Sleepy. Alright, Ether Tablet time. I think first check of this as well. and just bombs. All right. So Sky's probably just going to do a laser bridge wrap here. Looks like probably just a standard mirror wrap. Yep. Getting absolutely bowled by lasers. So let's see. Locations we haven't checked. Thieves Town. No one's done. Elmasaur? Elmasaur's not logic without hammer. Never mind. Armos? I don't know if Armos had an item. Those are like the big ones I can think of. Spike and Mimic obviously can't have the hammer. Running a bit dry, actually. Oh. Master Sword Trinex is rough. I don't think Sky has any safeties other than that green potion, so yeah, this is a bit dicey. He does have red mail, so I think he can take one more hit, but 2 is no bueno. Oh, and he's out of magic. Oh, look. Last shot got that was almost. I guess you can, do you need to... I haven't Samaria refilled my magic in years. Do you need to place a block in order for that to work? How does that work? I think you need magic in order to start regaining magic. Oh, yet another green. Okay, didn't matter. All right. So Chex finally heading into Swamp. Right as Sky kills Trinex. So for all intents and purposes, Chex is a full clear of Swamp behind, which is not a short amount, but given, I don't know, given how little they have left, it might come down to like whether Hammer is in Thieves Town, the Sky finds it there, or if X goes to like GT after this and finds it there or something. It'd be a huge... Not that Thieves Town is that much different full thing versus doing it normally, but any little bit X is going to need at this point. Every time someone does Scudgewoods, someone's like, wow, that's really risky. But, like, just... I don't know. Is it? Just don't press right. You're good. There are no enemies. You have all the time in the world. Just, you know, don't press right. Good demonstration of why beams and back of skull is not good. It'd be a big move right now if Chex did something crazy like skip left side swamp. I will say Chex is slowly catching up on time. This separate sword, which is nice, but we're talking seconds per boss versus a full clear of 2 dungeons. All right, Sky is walking out, which can only mean Thieves Town. So, moment of truth. I think this is like all that's left. That's some crazy. Between the two of them, anyway. Oh, I guess he still has more items installed. But then it's Thieves Town. He could go to GT. I just don't really know why he would instead of Thieves from here, unless he's just trying to make a play. Either way. There's the 4 items in Thieves Town. Oh, that's where it was. Jeez. And the 3 items in GT they have access to right now. Although I guess depending on key layout, upstairs GT could be in Logic. So they have Fire Rod, which puts right side. I guess with Fire Rod, there's a lot more in GT that's in Log now. But Compass Room does require 4 keys, logically, which... Or 4 keys or 3 plus big key, maybe. Something like that. So, like, every front chest would have to be a key for that not to be hammer locked. Logical access to Swamp is Mitts. So Hammer could be in Ice Palace, or sorry, Ice Palace. Hammer could be in Ice Palace, but nobody wants to do that. Just ignoring that for now. I can't see a world where either one of them does Ice Palace anything other than their last check. Maybe if Chex feels really far behind or something, but I think in his situation, it's less I feel behind and more this is really awful item placement. We haven't seen Upper Hera, but both bottom chests, front chests, the cage and the lobby were items. So there's no more items in there. Ew, that's a gross shrimp. Skip the Smiths. No. Zach saving a little bit of time because he had the myths at this point, so he can not have to do the wrap. Jax, you don't have the hammer. Awkward. Oh, he's skipping the purple chest. And he said screw it to powder as well. You love to see it. Or he's just going to go back after full clearing this. So we had some fun timing this room in Thieves Town. Malmo had mentioned in a voice yesterday, the day before, that Mike maybe tested that if you're not getting the big chest and you don't have gloves, mirroring with the maiden is faster than going around. So I was curious, and I tested mirroring with the maiden versus picking up the block, and it's a lot closer than you would expect. It was like half a second to a second difference. And that's with like having to deal with conveyor toilet and all the other nonsense. So if you want to skip most of the town, feel free to just always mirror there if you're not getting big chest. They are working on like a lag reduction for the ROM as well. People have been talking about. So if that goes in, that might make it even faster because the and there's the hammer on blind. Yikes. So Sky in go mode, Chex about to be in go mode. The only difference is Chex is half of a thieves town and an entire Mothula behind. So really, as is tradition, this is probably going to come down to GT routing. Oh yeah, that's a good point, Fox. Screen transitions themselves are super laggy, but I thought it was more about sprite lag. I could be wrong. Well, I'll just play on Z-SNES, and then it won't be a problem. So, Sky had the flute, and I have to wonder. I can't remember if he activated it because I was watching Chex's screen, but I wonder how saving quitting from Thieves Town to Link's house versus mirroring and activating the flute and flying to Ice Palace compares. Both runners probably feeling a little bit salty about this hammer location, considering they could have done this town 45 minutes ago or something. But it's not. It's a common one to skip, especially when you've already been to Village of Outcasts once. It's not super appealing versus a lot of the other stuff, which is way more item dense. Right, Check's going to wrap up Mothula, so Sky's probably going to be in GT or close to it by the time Chex finishes Moth. He'll be just like a full Ice Palace ahead. It's really unfortunate that Chex full cleared both Hot and Eastern, and at the same time, it's kind of a miracle that Sky managed to avoid both of them. And it's a lot closer than you'd think, given the fact that Chex has done 2 extra dungeons. But Hammer could have very easily just been on right side Eastern, or in the Eastern big chest or something. Small? But fun fact, there is a I don't know the specifics because I didn't bother learning it because it was voted to not be allowed. But there's some interesting tech apparently to skip straight to the top of GT, I think. One of the other more knowledgeable people in chat may know more details about it, but I do remember seeing the vote from like before the tournament started. But ultimately, I think it was decided that doing GT is too much fun. Well, we found all of Sky's bombs. Jack's going for the OG hammer into the dash. Kind of half committed there. It's kind of wild how many different ways there is to do that. Lonely Firebar Room. There's like the original NMG hammer. You can do it with sword slashes too. It's a little slower. You can flip through the top of the stairwell that way. And you can also flip through the bottom of the stairwell, which is technically the fastest, but is really awkward to do and can get you hit by a spike as well. All right. So unfortunately, there's not much GT routing left for Chex to make up time. Closest he could get here would be Big Key behind Ice Armos, and he just rushes full right. Seems unlikely, but you know, who knows what the future holds. There's a lot of money in Ganon's Tower. I think we're up to like, I don't know, 1,000 rupees or something. Oh, he's going right. Will he commit? Check's doing this room properly. So a lot of people will dash at the top of that conveyor and push the block down. It's actually faster to dash into the block and push it to the right. Doesn't really matter, but it's the most important thing. So can let you beat some Southwest RNGs if you bonk over the spike, which is nice. I don't even know if you can beat the spike at all without doing that. Wow, is this a tile room big key? That sucks. I feel like this happens way more often in HMG than I have ever seen in any other rando. I don't know why that would be, but maybe it's a consequence of the junk fill. I'm not sure. Just anecdotally, big key be here a lot in HMG. Time for the old GT climb with 14 hearts, tempered, red mail, powder, cape, and blue cane. Should be a pretty dicey one. Nice cape in that room. He's low on magic now, but with silvers, shouldn't matter. We'll just want to be careful not to run out of arrows. He should have plenty, but you never know what'll happen. There's also a lot of arrow pots here. Oh, this is a room that gets out of control really fast, but nice recovery there. Once you start sliding around, a lot of stuff in GT climb, the damage sneaks up on you because a lot of the stuff does 1 heart no matter what mail you have. Emo shots, spikes, that kind of thing. But through the hard part, second hardest part, this is the hard screen. But no problem. That screen's always fun to do because just like 1 in every like 20 to 30 times you get bodied by a red guard blinking against its sword, knocked into a pit, and shot to death by I-beams. It's really good when that happens in a speedrun. Chex getting his big key. He's going to head up the climb too, but this guy is pretty much already done, so... depending on how fast he is, like 3-ish minutes behind, something like that. Maybe a little less. Which gives, assuming nothing horrible happens here at the top of GT, gives Sky like kind of like that, like with silvers, like 3 solid attempts at Ganon, even if he dies or falls. Chex also making use of the cape. Very good room to use that in. Cape's a surprisingly useful item in Rando with quick swap. There's a lot of really nice situations to use that if you have the magic for it, but it's hard to justify menuing to it, which is not a problem when you have quick swap. Check's already down to 3 hearts, and he's still got more room to go before he can refill. Why shoot the arrow? Uh-oh. Squeezed by. But anyway, I have to wonder why Chex shot the arrow there if he was going to immediately use the fire rod anyway. Normally you would either just do the fire rod or you shoot the arrow and give yourself some leeway to see if it's actually going to hit. An NMG strat to shoot both the arrow and the fire rod at the same time? Really? For what reason? Is it like kill it faster if the arrow hits? Oh yeah, that for sure. But that's usually how it goes. I didn't mean I used the bow at all, because Chex like shot the fire rod before the arrow particle was like even fully on the screen. Yeah. Normally you would wait to see which way Stalfos is moving. I see what you're saying. Alright. There we have it. This guy has killed Ganon. Chex not that far behind, honestly. I have to say I'm very impressed. They pretty much did exactly the same things, except Chex has an additional pod in Eastern, and he's only like 2 minutes behind or so, which is honestly kind of incredible. But GG's to Sky, taking home the W in this game 1. Official time 1:27:31. Really nicely done. And Chex will probably finish at this point. He's like already right here. Maybe if Aga gives him a headache, he'll forfeit, but we're going to get a Clipe. Nice Clipe. Push the bat off the screen by the time it activates the bird. That way you don't have to wait for it to fly to the edge. It's already off the edge. Saves like 4 seconds. Very nicely done. So checks will be done here in a second. We'll see if they are going to pop in for an interview. Been pretty quiet in the race channel so far. Ooh, that was close. Nice triple setup. And Chex, is now also finished with 1:30:09. Very nicely done. So 2 minutes 37-second difference. Pretty good. Pretty close race. And looks like they are going to be hopping in here for an interview here in a second. Hello, we are joined by Chex and Sky. Good games, fellas.
GG. GG.
So that was a fun one. Both of you on the mad scramble to find the Moon Pearl for the first 40 minutes. How'd that go?
Right. I got to a toss-up where it was between East Dark World and Skull Woods and West Dark World, and I forgot about Turtle Rock at that moment, so I thought I had a better chance on the West.
Yeah, makes sense. That was... You two did mostly the same things in some varying degrees of order, with a couple exceptions. That was one of them. Sky went to Turtle Rock before going to Village and such, so he had the Moon Pearl kind of get down there more efficiently, whereas you did it pretty much all as a bunny and then had to come back later on again. So other than that, you were basically just trading light road locations for quite a while.
Neither of us touched Eastern Light World.
No, Chex full cleared pod in Eastern.
Oh, dang.
So, yeah, so that was actually one thing we noted, that you two basically did the exact same things entirely. Chex forgot he didn't have the hammer and said, screw you to Purple Chest and Butter, but also full cleared pod in Eastern. So the fact that you're only 2.5 minutes behind at the end of that is kind of miraculous.
Seems like it would have been quite a close race if I had just ignored Overworld and gone from Swamp to Thieves.
Yeah, I had mentioned Thieves Town always seems like one of those spots in these modes that nobody ever goes to right away, even when it's a crystal, just because it's kind of awkward to route in Village for some reason. It's not a great spot, oddly enough, unless you have Fire Rod and stuff already. So I guess I have to ask, when you finally got the hammer, either of you, that's been sitting there since 45 minutes prior, did you feel behind, or just kind of
Yes.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I definitely, I knew that the Moon Pearl was probably a good thing because I just went there so soon and didn't touch any of that other stuff. But then that hammer, I had full cleared a whole bunch of other stuff that was completely unnecessary, and I was like, well, I could have, this could balance out. And then at the top of GT, I started thinking about, well, Chex probably is making up time on me just in execution. And then I started messing up Aga 2 and kind of panicked, but we got there in the end.
Yeah. Chex had a pretty clean GT, other than Gauntlet.
Aga 2 and Landmo 2 were just disasters.
Yeah. Well,
it's a bad Aga 2.
Those are always disasters, but it was real dicey and Gauntlet. You almost died, but you made it through.
Yeah, that's the problem, because I stopped instead of using my silver setup.
Oh, yeah, the
powder threw me off because I didn't know the pattern.
It was
so I tried all the items in my inventory.
early on in the seed, when you guys found the powder, someone was just like, well, that's useless. And then both of you made ample use of it throughout the entire seed, funnily enough.
That's great.
Through Turtle Rock and GT.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was a really close race. Obviously, right around when Sky got out of Swamp, there was a wonder if you would go like straight to Turtle Rock, Chex, or go to like GT or something. But unfortunately ended up kind of showing Sky's Dark World route in the mire to Swamp, so he was more or less just a Swamp full clear ahead of you for the last part of the seed. So at that point, your only chance, really, realistically, I should say, was GT Big Key, which was Tile Room. So unless you were going to gamble Tile Room Big Key, unfortunately, it was looking pretty rough. But it was, like I said, a lot closer than I personally thought it was going to be, given how far you were behind. So just goes to show you.
It's like my 4th or 5th Tile Room Big Key. Like, not in the tournament necessarily, but since like the tournament started in seeds that I've played.
Yeah, I pointed that out as well. There's been a lot this tournament. I don't know if it's just coincidence or HMG specific, but we do seem to get hit with a lot of Tile Room Big Keys in this mode. Whether that's a good thing or not, who knows, but evens it up a bit.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. I don't think there was any like other big notable differences routing wise. Other than like the Moon Pearl and the Hammer, neither one of you really got tripped up by anything. It seemed pretty straightforward. So yeah, I guess any thoughts on your path through the seed? There are a lot of opportunities for interesting glitches that we got to see some of. We got to see Chex Blockbuster. Nobody tried to dupe the bow, but I don't think either one of you had a potion. You had a bottle, but no potion at
Oh
that
yeah.
point.
The
I know like nothing about item dupes.
So.
when I did the Blockbuster, I was curious what my chances were that it would be a Hammer Go mode seed, and here I am having checked Hammer Peg's cave.
Yeah. Yeah. At least the hammer wasn't an ice palace, I guess.
I was
good.
actually gonna beeline to Ice Palace after Thieves Town if it wasn't there, because by that point
Yeah.
I was like, well, I just don't do Eastern Light World until like there's nothing left.
Yeah. There's also the front. That was kind of the last holdout. Was who's going to Ice Palace and who's going to GT. See what happens. But ended up mattering. Yeah.
And
Really
the
good
only
stuff.
other like big clench moment I had was that Trinex fight. I didn't plan.
Yeah.
I for some reason thought I had the hammer, even though I knew I was looking for the hammer. And so it just went downhill, and I'm really lucky I survived.
Yeah. Red mail coming clutch for sure. On both sides in a lot of cases. Just a lot getting bodied by various things going around. You were pretty low health on Vitreous too. That one's a little less dicey than Trinex, but weirdly enough, a lot of low health fights despite the item loadout. Awesome. Yeah, and I guess before we wrap it up, any final thoughts? When game 2 is going to be yet?
Game 2, same time tomorrow.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, for anyone else still watching, I think for the schedule there's another match coming up here soon. Unfortunately, not restreamed, but that's pretty much it for tonight. Tam versus Joshua. So if you want to watch more HMG races, keep an eye on the schedule for what might be coming up tomorrow. And other than that, shout outs to our runners. Give them a follow. Very excellent match. Kind of a nail biter the whole way through up until the very end. And shout outs to Tom for tracking and folks at SpeedGaming for restreaming.
Thanks, Zero Rush, for jumping in last minute for the comms.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Right beforehand, I had a big giant helping plate of Taco Thursdays. Really put me in a good mood to sit down and stare at a screen for 2 hours.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll sign off here and hope to see you next time.